Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me, he does every week from TheRinger.com, is Dave Jacoby. Jacoby!
What's up, Verno? We were all fired up for the sequel, the rematch. Thunder, Cavs, primetime, national TV. And like most sequels, kind of sucked.
In the interest of full disclosure, I texted you in the first quarter of that game, and I said, oh, well, on having a good game. And your response was, Cavs will make a run. The Cavs,
They got it to within 20. They were down 42 at one point. That's a run.
Bro, they got mangled. And we talked about how much that had a playoff feel in the first one that took place between those two teams. And this, interestingly enough, as it was, there's distance between those two games. It wasn't like they were playing the same team back to back, but in the same way that many times within the context of a playoff series, you will see a close game one and then a blowout in game two. Mm-hmm. It makes me want to see, it's a shame. Now, it very well could end up being the NBA Finals when we get there, but I would love to see it play out between those two teams because it seems like, and I know that they were shorthanded even without Hartenstein in this game, but it felt like Oklahoma City got to see the Cavs once, see, where they could fix things both offensively and defensively, and then came out with a level of fire that was just never matched by the Cavaliers and an activity that was never matched, had the crowd behind them. And so it made me yearn. I was like, okay, the first one was amazing. Second one's an absolute dud. I would love to see game 3 to see how this would play out, right? Because that kind of tells a story in many series. But unfortunately, like many playoff matchups, when there was a close game 1, game 2 ended up being rather non-competitive.
Well, I didn't know you were going to go there, but I'm glad you did because I feel the same way about 2 of the Thunder games during the Emirates NBA Cup. Remember, they absolutely dog-walked the Mavs. Right. They were doubling Luka. Luka just looked like he wanted to go home in the second quarter. And I said to myself, if this was a playoff series, I would pick the Mavs in game 2.
Right.
And the opposite happened in the championship of the NBA Cup. The Bucks just looked like the older brother, just pushing their way to the hoop, and just like they weren't even challenged by this young, small Thunder team. And I said to myself, I would love to see game 2 of that series because I felt kind of the same way after Thunder Cavs, but I don't think there is anyone who saw Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein in street clothes and said to themselves, oh, Thunder in a blowout. I mean, no chance. I thought, because what the Cavs present is 2 great guards and 2 great bigs. And the Thunder present a bunch of 6'6", well, according to Shea, 6'4" guys who play defense and whip around and can hit threes and pass and do everything right. And it was a really good performance from the Thunder. I love it. I want to see this as the finals.
Look, when it's in the first quarter and right, they've got Allen Mobley, they don't have Chet and Hartenstein, and unanimously, every NBA viewer is watching this, because they're excited about this. The rematch, the matchup.
That's what they were like pushing it as the rematch.
The rematch. And then we all in unison went, who the hell is Brandon Carlson? And why is he banging threes? Thunder just have these guys? Who are you, bro? And he just comes in, bang, bang, 2 threes. It's like, what?
There was like a 15-minute stretch when he was the most Google person on the planet. It was like, who?
Brandon Carlson. That's crazy. I know. And so, hey, look, we always say, make the most of your opportunity. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So shout out to Brandon Carlson. Doesn't get a lot of run, but stayed ready to win. I mean, it's like you got to be a deep cut Thunder guy to be aware of Carlson, because
And they're deep. They throw some guys out there.
But I mean, he's like, if he gets 8 minutes, it's the Washington game, right? Otherwise, he's like, you've already turned those games off by the time you see Brandon Carlson. If Brandon Carlson has come in the game, generally for the Oklahoma City Thunder, you've turned the game off. But now you better get used to him because in the absence of Hartenstein, this guy's got to get some run.
Well, a couple things. Number one, it has to be mentioned that in both the win in Cleveland and the loss last night, Donovan Mitchell was just trash. I mean, he was in the torture chamber the entire time. Like, he had I think it was 3 for 15 in the first one and 3 for 16 in this one, something like that, something close to that. It's just like, come on, Donovan. And it's not as simple as Lou Dort is a good defender. Like, that's part of it, obviously. But, like, if you're Donovan Mitchell, you have to do better than that. He had 8 points last night, 10 points, whatever it was. Like, Come on, man. You're losing by 20 in the second quarter. Do something.
All right. Love and loathe. Team I loved. All right, I'm going with the Bucks on this for this week, okay? And the reason I'm going with the Bucks is because
I had them too. You say yours in first. I had them too.
No team has screwed around with our emotions more than the Milwaukee Bucks this year. They stink, and then they've gotten it together, and then they
win a championship
again. Yeah, and then they start 2025 by losing to the Nets and Portland. Those are the two most disgusting losses you can take outside of maybe the Wizards, okay?
Oh, and no. And our last pod we taped Tuesday morning. They were fresh off getting dominated by the Knicks. It was like last night's Cavs Thunder game. Like, it was not competitive at all.
Okay, so then they start the season and they lose to the Nets and Portland. Then they win 3 in a row. Then, as you mentioned, they get dog walked by 34 by the Knicks. And it's like, oh, God. Like, right when, they had lost these 2, then they won these 3. Hey, maybe they're getting together. Oh, no, they got smashed by the Knicks. Then they turned around and broke Sacramento's, broke their unbelievable startup and beat them by 15 and get 57 from Dame and Giannis. Then they turn around and play Orlando, who's been a bitch for everybody to play, and a team that you have to look at as a possible second-round matchup.
And they had Paolo.
And he bombed them out. Beat them 122-93. Again, 56 between Giannis and Dame. And then they get some contributions all around. They've gotten some bench contribution, including from Chris Middleton. And so, look, we got to give the Bucks credit when they deserve it, and there are certainly these weeks that, I mean, they always say never get too high, too low, but my God, I cannot imagine the Bucks fan experience this year because it's like, oh my God, we suck when you lose to the Nets in Portland. Then you win those 3 and be like, okay. And then you get killed by the Knicks. You're like, I knew it. And then you turn around and get these 2 great wins. And so, I don't know. You're schizophrenic, but I kind of am starting to love it. I love the fact that I have no idea if you are going to suck or be awesome. I don't know. But you are not consistently anything.
If I didn't pay attention to the NBA as closely as I do, if I was like sort of like one of my college fans who's like a casual fan, loves the league, but not day to day being caught up on it. And I said to them, I was like, what seed are the Bucks in the East? Right? I swear to God, one of my friends would be like 9. One of my friends would be like 2. It's like, honestly, it's like, I don't know where they are. Right now, they're 4 seed. They'd be hosting a round 1 playoff game.
Right.
And they're like a 10 seed like 4 weeks ago. It's a mess. I love it too because I love drama. And this is an absolute roller coaster. Roller coaster.
Look, if I told you that in another month they're going to be the 2 seed, you might be able to be convinced. If I told you in a month they're going to be the 8th seed, you might be able to be convinced. I don't know where the hell they're going to be. I have no idea.
Just because the way it is, I hate to be like a nerd about it, but like they're much closer to the 8th seed, sort of like in games behind. But like,
Are you
They could go
believing in the
either way.
Celtics right now? I mean, they look terrible.
Oh, we'll bring them up later. We're going to bring up the Celtics later. And on that, I'm trying to keep moving here. Also, I just want to apologize. I got a cough. I was sick this week. I was sick on Tuesday's show. That was the achy part of my sickness. The achy goes away, and then it goes into the cough and wheeze part of my sickness. And I just want to say, I blame my illness on dry January. This is ridiculous. My body's like, what are we doing? My body is just like, what are we doing? Like, there's an element to the chemistry that you've given me for about 30 years that you're now taking away. It's just throwing my body out of whack. So I want to apologize to my body.
Since you're being open and honest, would you say you have a drink every day or every
No. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
No,
so it's
no.
It's not ridiculous. There's a lot of people that have a drink every
6
day.
days a week. I mean, it's every day is ridiculous. 6 days a week. That's more like
I'm not an alcoholic. All right.
Yeah. No.
What do you think?
But it's I don't drink every day. But
you're
it's really
blaming
just like
your sickness. Forget the fact that it's negative 10
January.
degrees and horrible in the Northeast. You think it's the lack of alcohol.
Yeah. I think my body's just not used to this. Sending me a message like, come on, bro. Let's have a beer after work. Let's get back to normal.
All right.
But that being said, I just want to apologize for coughing a bunch. But I'll say this about the team that I love this week. I believe my recall is not the best. This was the team I loathed last week on Friday. Toronto Raptors.
Oh.
Now we're going to get to the Celtics, all right? Because they're the team that I loathe this week. So I'm just going to save that for a second. But I just want to say this.
I knew you were going to find a way to talk about Dick.
No, I didn't even put him in my notes. I'm watching the game, and they're beating the Celtics in the first half. And myself, and every Celtics fan, and every Celtics player, every Raptors fan, every NBA fan watching on League Pass is just waiting for the Celtics to go on a run and flip the game. They're just waiting for it. I'm live betting this thing on FanDuel. I'm like, there's no chance the Raptors win this game. It makes no sense for them to win this game. And the run never happened. They never forced the Raptors to call timeout. They never pressured the game. It was never really in question, the outcome. It was a truly great performance from the Raptors through and through. And I think that people dumb down the Celtics too much, and we'll get to that later. But it's all, if they're not hitting threes, they're not going to win. They hit 34% of their threes. Like, they didn't shoot terribly from three in that game, but the Raptors held them to about 40% from two. And I just loved them. And the reason I really loved them this week, here's why I really loved them this week, before you chime in. After the game. Remember, this team has 10 wins on the season.
Right.
Social media managers get together that run the Raptors account. They're like, what should we do?
This is their moment.
They're like, we're not going to have too many opportunities like this season.
That's right.
So what do? They put up a box score of the game, quarter by quarter, with a picture, and this is why I love them this week, of Brandon Jennings. Now, if you haven't been paying close attention, Brandon Jennings said that Jason Tatum was the softest Celtics superstar in history. So they didn't mention Tatum by name.
No.
They didn't put the quote up on the post. Just the box score and Brandon Jennings. And that is why they're the team I love this week.
I mean, look, they've probably been to hell and back this year with all the other teams goofing on them. I've seen teams like a couple weeks ago when Orlando beat them. They put up that, the chubby fake Drake, all that stuff. Yeah. Except he's singing Orlando Magic, right? Like, I mean, they've been to hell and back. I will say this about Toronto very quickly. They've gotten their guys back healthy. Not that we are in love with their roster by any means, whatever. But I do think that by virtue of getting the guys back and like they have like a real lineup now that they can play, they are one of those teams that everybody's going to go, I can go out to the club the night before. I can go hang out and do whatever I want to do. I don't have to do some kind of like stringent routine. I don't have to be locked in for us to get a win. Over the course of 82 games, there's always nights where you're not locked in the same way. And it's usually when you're playing against the rat teams. And what I will say is they are teaching us that when they have their guys back in their lineup, they are worthy of your attention, because if you do dick around, they will catch you.
Toronto is known. It's known for being a fun NBA team.
Right.
A fun NBA city for visiting teams. They're the New York Times. Like, this is like
their record. Look, I think they've won one game in in America. It's like maybe one or two. Oh yeah.
Ugh.
Like they're of their 10 wins, they're all like in Toronto.
The New York Times once wrote like a 6,000 word. This is like 2010, 2013 or something. They wrote like a 6,000 word article about like the economy of sort of hosting visiting NBA players at night.
Oh.
And it was well researched, and it was the New York Times, and it seemed like it was a very fun city for visiting teams. And I think the poor quality of the roster at this point may sort of entice some visiting players to enjoy themselves a little bit more than they normally would on the night before. And God bless them, because it's working. And they'll never be a team that I love again. So this is your week, Toronto Raptors fans. Enjoy it.
The team that I loathed, your beloved Gotham City Brooklyn Nets.
I can't see them. Haven't seen them.
Well, you missed history, because they took the worst loss and the Clippers' biggest win. People may not have noticed this because it wasn't exactly the biggest thing on the radar.
Oh, yeah. I went to sleep. I went to sleep before this one was over. I was like, I'm out.
The final score was 126-67.
67 points.
Yeah. And by the way, the Nets were down with 10 minutes left in the second quarter. They were down 25-24. So that means they got outscored 101-43 the rest of the way.
Whoa.
At one point, they were down by 64 points. And the reason I am mentioning this is because you may not know this, Jacoby, but I haven't seen tons of, though I've been going to games for now over 20 years on a regular basis, I haven't seen a ton of downright NBA history, like something that has never happened before and will probably never happen again. But I was in attendance in 2021 when the Memphis Grizzlies beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 152-79 by a margin of 73 points. It is the biggest margin in NBA history. And it is a record I hold near and dear to my heart.
2021 Thunder?
Correct.
So that's the post-bubble years. That's like
this is a tanking year.
Yeah.
This is tanking. 152-79. It's one of the first times when I'm looking at that score and they're up by 64, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to break the record. This is, I thought.
Did you and your Memphis boys pop champagne like the 72 Dolphins?
like Mercury Morris?
Yeah.
Mercury Morris. I'm like, there's no way anyone is ever going to beat somebody by 74. There's no way. There's no way that record could be broken. And now, after watching what the Clippers did to Brooklyn, I now question it. This Brooklyn team might lose by 100 to somebody on a random night. Don't break that record, Brooklyn. Don't break that record.
Nets, when you look at every single team, the Wizards, the Pelicans, the Nets, like all the bad teams, the Blazers, when you look at their starting lineup, you're like, those are 5 good NBA players. And the Nets are the same way. Like they lost by 64 is kind of shocking because they've got guys.
Oh, they know they're look. They
most of the guys they did. I did see. It might have been during this game. It was like they showed the street clothes, and it was Cam Johnson,
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Ben Simmons.
Okay, did you not?
It was like, oh, wait a second. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this starting 5 didn't have guys.
Well, that's the other thing that is worth mentioning for a reason that I loathe them this week. They had guys that were playing in that game last night. Or I'm sorry, against the
2 nights
Clippers.
ago, yeah.
Players that were in the game, playing in the game, and they had to walk over or walk around.
Yeah.
They put them on
They're
the second row. Ben Simmons and that group was all sitting on the front row. I'm like, this is bananas. Bojanovic and Simmons and that group, they're in street clothes on the actual bench. Guys that are participating in the game. No wonder they got beat by 64. The guys that are playing in the game don't even get to sit on the real bench next to the court.
It reminds me of like if you don't live in New York, like we ride the subway all the time, and there's this unspoken rule that like if an old lady gets on the train, or like someone with a cane, or a pregnant lady gets on the train, there's an unwritten rule that you're supposed to stand up and give them your seat. And that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like, if you're not playing in the game and you're in street clothes, give up your seat to someone who might have to check into the game.
Ben Simmons, Cam Johnson, and Bogdanovich were on the front row. Behind
I think it was Cam Thomas too, right?
Maybe. But behind them was Reese Beekman, who was playing in the game.
Legend.
And Derek Whitehead. So those two guys are sitting behind guys that are in street clothes on the second row of the bench.
Give up your seat. How big is your ego? Give up your seat.
That's crazy. Destroys team morale.
So we discussed this.
Reese Beekman's going to tell that story forever. He can't even see the game. Ben Simmons is 6'11".
There are paying customers with better seats than Reese Beekman. Much better.
Poor Reese. Free Reese Beekman.
Free Reese Beekman. I don't think he's going to make All-NBA this year, but next year, lock.
Team you love.
The Celtics. Like, we've spoken about it before because the team I loved was the Raptors, but how do you lose that game? And they were down. I didn't pay attention to the game until like the second quarter. I saw they were down by like 18 or whatever. I was like, let me see who's out. Do you know what the starting five for the Celtics was?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody. Oh. KP played. Drew played. Brown. Tatum. Everyone's available.
Do you want to know what's crazy? I was reading an article about them this morning, and it was quoting Brian Scalabrine, who is a broadcaster for the Celtics. Yeah. He was saying Missoula may have to make some tough decisions, and it was in reference to when they have had their preferred lineup. So you're talking about Holiday and White, along with Tatum and Brown and Porzingis, right? Yeah. When they have had that preferred lineup, they are 5-5.
Huh.
Is that crazy or what?
I mean, I'm not going to read too much into that because those are their five best players. they play together really well and won a championship
it's just
a few months ago.
It's crazy that when they have all their guys in the 10 games that they have had that preferred starting lineup, they're 500.
So
odd.
Here's why I don't like the Celtics. I loathe them this week. You need to win that game. And they're 7-7 in the last 14. Losses, and these are decent teams they've lost to. Bulls, Magic, Sixers. That Sixers game was Christmas. That was a big one. Sixers played great. Pacers, Thunder, Kings, Raptors. Outside of the Raptors, those are all like legitimate teams that are like winning games. The Bulls are borderline. But here's the thing that sort of like gets me a little bit. Why are they still the betting favorites to win the championship? Like, why are they still favored to win the championship? And I've listened to our colleague, the great podfather, Bill Simmons, and he sort of writes it off as like, they're just not up for these regular season games. They're pacing themselves for the playoffs. Like, it's hard to get up for the regular season after you just won a championship. And I was thinking about that, and I believed that for like the first few losses. But now I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe this team does have more flaws, and maybe their record is who they are. And maybe they're not the best team in the Eastern Conference. Maybe they remind me kind of like the Chiefs. It's like the Chiefs, while having the best record in the NFL, did not play that well this year. A bunch of referee help, a bunch of one-score wins, but we all sort of like assume they're going to win the Super Bowl because they've done it before. But in regard to their sort of effort in the regular season, I was thinking about it, and I was like, is this a normal occurrence? And I thought about the Warriors. After they won the championship, they won 73 regular season games in that season. They ended up losing in the finals. But there was no, oh, we won the championship last year, so we're going to coast through the regular season. It was very much the opposite. And the idea that this is a switch-flipping team that's just going to get to the playoffs and blow out the competition like they did last year, and they looked great last year, I don't believe in that. Right now, I would take the field over the Celtics to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals. And I say that acknowledging wholeheartedly that I hate field versus team or field versus golfer bets because you're taking basically any other team. But right now, I would not personally have them as the favorites to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals.
Totally fair. Player that I loved, a guy that I mentioned earlier in the week after I'd watched him play against Memphis in back-to-back games for Houston, and he was the best player on the floor in a game that was played earlier this week, Jalen Green. He had 27 in the first game against Memphis. He had 42 in the second game. Then he backed it up by playing against Denver and had 34 in that. And then last night, 28 against Sacramento, 50% or higher in all of them so far. And, one of the things that has been, and you mentioned this earlier when you were saying Raphael Stone don't make a deal. We know that they need a go-to guy. We know they need a star, right? Like, I need a bucket, whatever. Like, bro, let this kid take his lumps.
It was him last night.
Let the kid take the lumps. Let him go and be that guy, right? I need a bucket. We're going back and forth. DeRozan's making plays on one end because, as I've told you, I'm very high on his ability. I have many times recoiled at the idea of what he is or what he is going to be going forward. He is still a young player, but you are seeing an elite level scorer with an ability. If you give him space, and I wonder, we saw last year, I've thought about this a lot. We saw last year when Şengün was out of the lineup, he exploded, right? And I've always been I've said this is one of the reasons I think that Minnesota has massively mismanaged the Ant thing. Because when you have a talent like this, maximize the amount of space that they have to operate, because in many cases they are absolutely unguardable in a one-on-one situation.
Well, Verno, the Rockets don't exactly have a ton of shooters surrounding Jalen Green. Let's be honest.
I'm aware. But even now, as you see them, when they are able to create the requisite space, he's an unguardable guy. And now you have to dedicate two. Now I can pitch out. Now the offense gets in motion, because on a one-on-one situation, you're at the disadvantage against that kid. The same way that you're at the disadvantage against a John Morant, the same way you're at a disadvantage against an Anthony Edwards, that you are forcing that defense, make him see two. And the more they can make him see two, and so now Jabari's been out for a good amount of time, right? Yeah. And so it's like, the more space that you can give this kid, I think you are going to see, and this is, as I've said, it's very like the Edwards thing. If you just watch him in the one-on-one situation, bro, good luck. Good luck trying to deal with that kid on an island, because he is more athletic than you. He is great ball handling skills, and then you're not jumping with him. He jumps higher than you, he runs faster than you, and he dribbles faster than you. And it's like, you keep letting him get these reps as the guy, and now you're going to see a situation where teams have to make him see a second guy. That opens up stuff for Şengün, and obviously the next step is getting a guy that he can kick out to that can reliably knock down shots, because that's the dicey proposition right now. But if you give him a shooter that is a dead eye that he could just chuck it out to once your man pinches on him, and then he gets that 2-man game going with Şengün. I just think, as I've said, I think he's a special talent. I really do.
So the Rockets clearly need shooting for all of the reasons in regards to Jalen Green that you explained. And every team needs shooting. They don't shoot threes well. And if you want to win the NBA championship, you're going to have to hit some threes, right? And the aforementioned Podfather brought this up on a chat. Reed Shepherd you're like, they need a knockdown shooter.
Right.
And he doesn't get on the floor. He gets into the G League, scores 49 points. We discussed that. And here's my theory on why Reed Shepherd is not getting time on the floor with the Rockets. And this is based on no inside information, no firsthand information, no science, no evidence, no data. This is completely just me making stuff up. So buckle up. Here's my theory. He gets dominated in practice by the great defenders that the Rockets have. I think every time Ime sees him play, it's in practice. And he's got like Thompson in front of him, and he can't get a shot off, so they think he sucks. That's my theory.
No. I've been around a bunch of coaches, and especially the former NBA guys that are coaches. The only way you are getting that guy on the court is if you trade what is in his way, if you make him essential. The coaches are always going to play the vets. They're always going to play.
They don't have any vets.
They have
Jeff Green.
No, they have Van Vliet and they have Holiday. That's what's in the way. So if you move off Aaron Holiday, now you have to have another guy that can come in there. And I'm telling you,
wouldn't you play Reed Shepherd over Aaron Holiday if you were Ime?
But like
I would.
I went through this years ago. There was a guy who's still actually in the NBA, in Javon Carter, plays for the Bulls, right? Mm-hmm. And so Memphis drafted Javon Carter. But J.B. Bickerstaff, who was the coach at the time, bro, he was going to play Shelvin Mack. End of story. And Shelvin Mack was horrendous. But Shelvin Mack was a veteran. So he's going to play him. And the only way they were ever even going to get to see what they had in Javon Carter is if you traded Shelvin Mack. So they traded him for basically nothing. Like they just threw him in a deal, right? And so the only way with a lot of these, and especially the old school type coaches, they're going to play the vets until they don't have a choice. So you just have to take the option away from them. But given the option, they are going to play the vets because they're trying to win tonight. And in their mind, a Shelvin Mack, an Aaron Holiday, or whoever, that's going to help me win tonight. That's going to help us win this game tonight. Because that's what they're thinking.
I can't see it. If you're trying to win a championship and you're the Houston Rockets, you're not going to do it this year. So get Reed out there, like you said about Jalen Green. Take your lumps.
I agree with you. By the way. All right. And by the way, also on the Jalen Green, let me mention real quickly. Also, shout out to him for running straight to John Morant and barking at him, and running straight to Russell Westbrook.
Oh, I love the Russell
barking
Westbrook
at him
quote.
too, bro. If you're willing to bark at, if you're willing to get in both Morant and Westbrook's face in 1 week, you're starting to move to a different level.
But he also does it with a smile and not a scowl. Like it's just as competitive, but it's not like evil. He's kind of having fun with his trash talk. And I love Russell Westbrook's quote. If you didn't see it, he said, quote, "This guy was on my AAU team. He's talking to me like a little boy or a little child or something."
Amazing.
Because a lot of NBA players sort of like fund AAU teams. And I'm sure this, Westbrook was in his late 30s or whatever. And Jalen Green was 14, 15. And now he's talking trash to him on NBA.
Ime Udoka loved that.
I know. Yeah. I noticed
loved
that too.
Yeah. He thought it was so funny. It was like he was watching a stand-up routine.
Yeah. I did notice that as well. I'm picking up the pace here. Player I love. And we talked about him before, but Malik Monk, like, he was out for a while for the Kings, and we all talk about like Doug Christie coming in and changing the culture. A lot of it had to do with Malik Monk coming back and making them good.
Well, and putting Keon Ellis in.
Oh, yeah, Keon Ellis, of course. His last 6 games, he's got 31, 26, 23, 22, 18. Last night he had 26. And here's one thing I love about Malik Monk. So Steph Curry, right? 6'2". If Steph Curry dunks, it's in a fast break, and all the conditions have to be perfect. He's coming from the left side. He jumps off his right foot, and he barely dunks, right? And Steph is one of the best basketball players to ever touch a basketball. Malik Monk is 1 inch taller than Steph Curry. and he will dunk all over the place, all over you if you're in front of him. Like, he is a shooter, he's a scorer, but he's also an explosive athlete that will dunk on you. He has 12 dunks this season. I love Malik Monk. I love the spark that he brings to the Kings. I love the fact that will dunk on you in a way that Jalen Green and John Morant will. And he's only 6'3".
He also had to show up, too, because as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, when they fired Mike Brown, and I highlighted on the show, I said, look, these Malik Monk quotes are something when he said, hey, he really relates to us being a guy
Former
that played
player.
the game.
Yeah.
Being a guy that played the game. So it made you feel like, okay, Malik Monk hated him.
Yep. Yeah,
Right.
Somewhere Mike Brown is like, bro, like that wasn't the gap between us, the fact that I didn't wear an NBA jersey.
Player I loathe. You mentioned that you loathe the Boston Celtics this week. I mean, goes without saying that you got to highlight at least one of them. And one of the reasons that Brian Scalabrine, who I mentioned before, is talking about some tough decisions that might need to be made is because Derek White, who every time I watch the Boston Celtics on national TV, there is a unanimous massive erection the entire time from broadcasters telling you how amazing Derek White is and how Derek White should be an all-star. And then Al Horford goes out earlier this week and stumps for him, and Al Horford tells everybody that he needs to be an all-star because he's a winner.
Wait, Derek White?
Yes, he's a
on
winner.
The all-star team?
He does all the things that need to be done for the team to succeed. He scores the ball. He plays defense. He leads our team. That's our point guard. A lot of intangibles, a lot of things you can't put a number on.
What?
I feel like a lot of times we try to measure an all-star in numbers. He can put them up if he needs to, but more importantly, he plays to win. Ultimately, I think that that's going to be rewarded for him. And Derek White responded by having 3 points on 1 of 8 shooting after he had 6 points on 1 of 6 shooting and 6 points of 2 of 9 shooting. And in that Toronto game, he's pulled quickly. Missoula's like, I can't take this.
This is. I didn't know that quote happened. I mean, Derek White being an all-star is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
They say you don't know ball if you don't think Derek White is in the most unbelievable situation in basketball life, which is he can have like 3 6-point games. And honestly, if I wouldn't have mentioned it on the mismatch, no one would even know or care.
He sucked lately.
But
he's Brock Purdy. He's Brock Purdy. That's who he is. He's basketball Brock Purdy.
But if he had 28, everyone would 3 28-point games in a row, it would be like the world doesn't understand how amazing Derek White is. So nobody's talking about, it doesn't matter. Like if Jason Tatum had 3 6-point games in a row, oh my God, Brandon Jennings would do a 7-hour podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, the BS report would be 4 hours long about potential trades for from Jason Tatum to Real Madrid or whatever.
They're wondering if they should put Peyton Pritchard in his place.
I mean, okay. I'm glad you started with the announcers because sometimes perception is reality and there's an inertia, there's a momentum to sort of like basketball opinions, and everyone decided that Derek White was
underrated,
the greatest thing since
you know
sliced bread.
Hey,
don't let Derek White block a shot, because what are you going to hear from the announcers if he blocks a shot? One of the best shot blockers in the league. They treat him like Victor Wembanyama when he blocks a shot. It's like, Derek White, for his size, he's one of the best shot blocker this game has ever seen. It's like, it's okay. He does block some shots, but like, let's not start treating him like he's Dikembe Mutombo, okay?
Well,
you can score on Derek White.
I had an ongoing thing last year where I started saying he's basketball Keenan Allen, because all anybody talks about with Keenan Allen is how nobody talks about Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Right? The underrated Keenan Allen. It like his whole career, no one talks about him unless they're talking about him how no one talks about him. That's what he is. The entire conversation is always about how no one talks about him. And
yes,
the irony.
No. He wasn't recruited out of high school, and then he went to this college in Colorado, and JUCO or whatever, and then he went to this college and that college. We get that story too. Those are the two things you hear about him all the time.
Yeah, no one talks about him.
I love this. I love that you hate Derek White, and I want all Derek White fans.
Just
to at the Chris Vernon Show on all socials.
I don't hate him.
You hate him.
Am I glad he had 3 games that sucked back to back? I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me not to.
This is more like just recognition of this is. I don't loathe this person, but it's kind of like yours. It's like quietly,
okay.
People aren't really discussing the fact that Dalton Connect kind of sucks now. It was all good when he was 8 for 8 from 3 and scored 20 here and scored 26 there. And him and Austin Reeves was little 1-2 punch of country white boys on the Showtime Lakers alongside AD and LeBron. Well, guess what? He's made 12 of his last 63 threes. His last 4 games, 0 points, 0 for 3, 13 points, 5 for 8, 5 points, 1 for 5, 2 points, 0 for 4. I don't know if he's going to win Rookie of the Year. And LeBron James, remember after that game, he's like, well, I've been a fan of Dalton Connect. I watched every Tennessee Volunteers game last year. He was a Dalton Connect guy. I don't hear him saying anything about Dalton Connect now.
LeBron's always been a big Vol.
So this may be a rookie wall. This may be a shooting slump. I'm not writing this guy off. He's not going to, play in Greece next year. But I'm just saying, if we're going to celebrate this guy, we have to recognize the fact he's not shooting well right now.
All right, let's mark him down for a huge game this weekend.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
As soon as you said that. Thing that I loved, we talked about the controversy that is going on, and obviously it has not been good times in Miami news-wise. But there is one great thing that is happening, which is, I would argue, the king of alternate jerseys and courts. The Miami Vice jerseys are coming back.
Love those.
I mean, they're amazing. Truly. You still see those, you know what, and you know what they are? They are ones that will be, I always call them like Music Fest jerseys. Like there's always people wearing wild jerseys at Music Fest. And those you're going to be for the next 30 years, you're going to see people wear those Miami Vice. And so they need to come back because a lot of people still have the Hero one because he was still, he was up and coming and when they first came out. But the Miami Vice jerseys, it is, to me, sometimes we bitch about the alternate jerseys, and Lord knows, as NBA fans, we turn on League Pass and we're like, my God, those are awful. Those are just pathetic. I even saw our buddy Zach Lowe bitching about the Celtics jerseys against the Raptors the other night. Like, never wear those. I mean, these are just putrid, right? And so it's very rare that the team absolutely nails the alternate jersey, but Miami nailed it so much that could be their regular jersey, and I would think it's amazing.
You know what? I think the alternate jerseys do get a lot of flack, as you mentioned, but if the league goes 1 for 20 and keeps trying and trying, it's fine. The successes will stay and the failures will go. But I do want to mention this now that you brought up alternate jerseys for a second. What the hell's going on with the red Grizzlies jerseys? What is that?
So that's a throwback to the Memphis Sounds. That's what that is.
Okay.
The Memphis Sounds were they were an ABA team back in the day.
Okay.
And so it's a throwback to the history of having a franchise once upon a time.
Much more appropriate name than Grizzlies, but sure.
Memphis Sounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a cool name.
All right. Thing that I love this week, and I love this. There's a sneaky little press release. A little news drop from our friend Shams.
Okay.
And I'll quote an article from our friend Shams. Quote, Maverick Carter, LeBron James' business manager, has been enlisted as an advisor by a group of investors seeking to raise $5 billion to form an international basketball league that would serve as a rival to the NBA. Sources told ESPN, confirming a story first reported Thursday by Bloomberg. The group, which includes multiple private equity funds, is looking to form a league consisting of 6 men's teams and 6 women's teams playing games around the world. Later on in the article, quote, this is my favorite part. Although Carter, who has served as a producer on more than one of James's TV and movie projects, is closely tied to the Los Angeles Lakers star, sources told ESPN that James is not involved in the efforts with this new league. I love this so much. First of all, I love the fact that they say Maverick Carter, and anyone listening to this knows who Maverick Carter is. They call him someone who has served as a producer on more than one of James's TV and movie projects. Bro, he is so much more than a producer on more than one of James's TV and movie projects. And then they go on to say that James has nothing to do with this.
Lifelong friend.
Oh, yeah.
Sat at the table for the first shoe deals.
Yeah, I mean, best man at the wedding. Like, this is best. This is this right-hand man stuff. This is consigliere. This is everything. This is business partner.
Yeah.
But James has nothing to do with this new league that's going to, quote, rival the NBA. Another quote I love.
Is it called Live Basketball?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is where I'm getting to. Quote, Bloomberg reported that the investment group might try to tap private equity and sovereign wealth funds.
Yeah.
Sovereign wealth funds is code for we called the Saudis.
Yep.
We called the Saudis. And there's nothing the Saudis would love more than the live golf version of the NBA with LeBron James as the face of this. Now, before we get your take on this, I have some theories about this. Because when information like this gets to us, there's an agenda. There is someone who wants us to have this information. And regardless of what this article says, something tells me, a hunchy hunch, that LeBron James might be aware that this is happening. Just a hunch. He might be aware of this.
Okay.
So what would this do? Here are some theories I have about why we have this information about LeBron James's right-hand man forming a rival league to the NBA with Saudi money. I have a couple theories. One is they already had the Saudi money on deck. And they love nothing. The Saudis would love nothing more than to live golf the NBA, right? Because they've long time sort of sovereign funds, not just the Saudis and Qatar and other places in the region that are rich with oil money, want to buy NBA teams and whatnot, but it's sort of been blocked for quite some time. Another theory. Now this is interesting. Magic Johnson owned a team in Sweden. And he played on that team in 1999 to 2000, very quietly. I don't know how many games he played, but there's video of him on the internet playing on this like Swedish basketball team in the year 2000, which is just odd. And this might be a LeBron James career 2.0 move. Retire from the NBA, play in a league that he is forming, that he has ownership of, or a piece of at least, to sort of like extend his career in this sort of like non-NBA, more big three-ish exhibition, international thing. So he can play to 47, just without the 82-game NBA system. And another theory. There's always been an unspoken awkwardness between young, super athletic, mainly black players in a league that was owned or now governed by old, dorky, mainly white, billionaire men. It's always been this sort of like unspoken tension. And I feel like if anyone were to truly flip that, if anyone were to truly say, let's make a for us, by us league, LeBron James would have the power to do that. And it wouldn't happen overnight, but it could happen over time.
Kyrie tried to tell everybody to do this a long time ago.
It's a little different. It's a little different in the middle of a pandemic when Kyrie's like, follow me, guys. Then LeBron James with $5 billion of backing and a true plan It says, follow me, guys.
Look,
and my final one is this. My final theory is this before you chime in. This is all bullshit. It's just a negotiation.
Yes.
For him to get his own team in Vegas from the NBA.
All right, let me go with the last one. And the last one is your most probable theory. And the lesson was learned in sports. By the way, this is played out with Live Golf. There's not a day that goes on that Jay Monahan, who's the commissioner of the PGA, the horrendous commissioner of the PGA, doesn't probably wake up and go, I should have just met with them and took their money a long time ago. Yeah. I never thought we'd have competition. Adam Silver, if nothing else, say whatever criticisms you want of him, is an absolutely brilliant businessman that is great about getting and funding money. In the face of everyone saying ratings are down and their next TV deal is not going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be, he pulled an absolute rabbit out of his hat and got them secured for years to come.
11 years.
With an amazing television deal. If it comes to the point where the Saudis want to get involved, the lesson of the PGA is that do not try to compete with these guys. Do not try to compete with them. Have them involved. And if Jay Monahan would have just brought them into the fold, gotten their money involved in the first place, he would have had an even more unbelievable and robust PGA Tour. Instead, now he's got himself into a position where in a couple of weeks, Liv is going to be on Fox with all manner of the best stars in golf. And the PGA is going to be hosting some tournament where you don't even know who's on the leaderboard. And so this cannot be. You cannot compete with them. They've got unlimited money. Unlimited. Like it's just growing still. And so Silver would get them involved. And so I think the most likely scenario is the last one, which is this is some way to say, hey, we've got these guys on deck. They want to be involved. And so you don't want us doing this, right? You don't want us doing that. So you better do right by us on this, right? Because if you don't do right, if you don't do right by us, if you don't do right by us, this is exactly what happened with Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson. And then the PGA said, F you.
Yeah.
And they said, fine, F us.
Who won that standoff? Who won that standoff?
Right. F us. So this is do this or here's a real possibility. It's leverage.
It's just interesting to me that this information got to us because this could all happen behind closed doors.
Yep.
But I think it gets to us because I think LeBron is saying, my career is going to end in the next 4 years. It's probably less than that, but I was going to say it's possible if it was 4 more years. And at that point, I need to be a partner in the NBA or I could take option number 2. And when there is an option number 2, you're much stronger at the negotiation table. And it's not a secret that, there will be a team in Vegas. LeBron will be involved and he will be a governor of an NBA team. Or who knows, live basketball.
Last one, and I'll keep it quick. Thing that I loathe. What Karl Anthony Towns did earlier this week is absolutely indefensible. I texted you as I was watching it play out.
Disgusting.
Wearing a Philadelphia Eagles jersey or a Philadelphia Eagles shirt in Philadelphia while the Knicks are playing against Philly. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I don't care that Jalen Brunson is supporting it. He listened to the wrong people. Because Jalen Brunson led him astray. And Jalen Brunson liked that he was wearing that. And what he should have done is poll real people that know Knicks fans. And Towns has been amazing for the Knicks this year. It has been an amazing trade that has reaped incredible rewards. Bro, you cannot be rocking a freaking Philly. I don't care who you're a fan of. Not on the bench of the New York team wearing the Eagles shirt. And then if you are, as they say, Jacoby, stand on business. If you're going to do it, stand on business. But instead, did the cat thing and changed out of it.
That's the part. I don't care if you support the Eagles. You grew up an Eagles fan. You love Randall Cunningham. Go for it, dude. Be an Eagles fan. You play in the Knicks and be an Eagles fan. That doesn't bother me as a Knicks fan at all. What bothers me is changing the shirt at halftime. So you went into the locker room at halftime and picked up your phone.
That's right.
And saw everyone in your mentions making fun of your shirt and calling you this, and that. And you changed your shirt. I'm so upset about that. You know what? There's no chance Knicks win the championship this year. No chance.
You loathe.
I'm still upset about this shirt changing thing. Again, it's not that he wore the Eagle shirt. It's that he changed at halftime. He got bullied.
It's whatever
by the Twitter fingers.
Yeah, whatever the opposite of standing on business is.
Yeah, what was that? Sitting on recreation? I'll be quick on this. The end of the Kings-Rockets game. The Rockets were down, like I said, like in the second quarter, they looked tired. They were down by 15. I said, you know what? Let me open up my FanDuel app and put $20 American on the money line on the Rockets coming back and winning this game. So I'm invested. They're coming back. Everything's going great. The Kings inbound the ball to Dillon Brooks. Like, they throw him the ball. And at this point, like, it's a 1-point game. The Rockets just scored. And it was not a foul. They literally threw the ball to Dillon Brooks. They're trying to get it to De'Aaron Fox. They call a foul. The Rockets bench goes crazy. Dillon Brooks is like, he's losing his mind. I swear to God, he had the wherewithal to walk away from the environment and separate himself, because he would have like literally started like gnawing at the man like a cannibal if he had if he was anywhere in the vicinity of this referee. The Rockets bench is going crazy. So what does the ref do? The ref doubles down. He goes, we're now reviewing this play to see if it was an off-the-ball foul, to see if the foul occurred before the ball was inbounded. So now the ref not only made a bad call, because the other team inbounded it to Dillon Brooks. They review it, and in the review, to the ref's credit, Dillon Brooks technically, by the letter of the law, fouled De'Aaron Fox. But however, there's hand fighting on an inbound every single time. It's like holding in football. If you look for it, you can find it on every single play. It was not a foul in a traditional sense of like just history of watching NBA games. When a player tries to cut, there's always a little bit of pushing and grabbing and tussling. It was not an egregious foul whatsoever. But then they review it and they'd say that a few frames before the ball was thrown in, the foul occurred. So now not only did they take 5 minutes to turn a foul that wasn't a foul into a bigger foul that gets them a foul shot and more foul shots, and basically gave the Rockets no chance to win the game. It was sort of everything that is wrong about the review system. It slowed everything down, made the last 20 seconds take 10 minutes. It was a bad call that turned into a worse call from review, and it made a competitive game going down to the wire into an anticlimactic Jalen Green taking a sidestep sort of heave from 27
almost made
feet.
it.
He did almost make it. But there was no chance that was going in. Basically, all of his momentum was going to the side. But I just hated it. And it wasn't just losing $20 that I hated. It's just the whole system. And we've talked about it before. Let's not have these reviews take as long as they take. Let's not have the option for that review. If you didn't review that foul call, who's complaining?
I'm going to tell you something, Jacoby. At some point, I hope the message gets through. I'm going to stay on this. There has to be a review clock.
Yeah.
We're putting a minute up and a decision is made within a minute. That's it.
And if you can't come to a decision within a minute,
that's it.
Call stands.
That's it.
It should be so obvious that it takes you two replays, and then find out how much time is left. That's it.
You have a minute.
It shouldn't take more than a minute.
You have a minute.
Put the clock up.
Yep.
That's a great call. That's the thing I love this week.
Review
Your clock idea for reviews.
Review clock. All right. Thank you to our executive producer, Jesse Loathes, as always. And Jacoby, I'll talk to you next week.